Hello, everyone. Today I am really excited to share with you an interview of one of my favorite skating parents. Not only is she one of my favorites, but she has a wealth of knowledge as a skating parent. Not only has she taken lessons from me, but with several coaches, over 20 coaches from all over the country. So she has a wealth of knowledge and great perspective of what skating parents are really thinking. And it might surprise you more than you think. So please enjoy this interview. All right, so today I'm very excited to have a very special guest, not just because she is named Cheryl, but because she's one of my favorite skating parents of all time. I had the pleasure of working with her daughter and her family. I feel like it is a team effort here, right? Making athletes. So Cheryl has been in the sport since 2005 when I started coaching her daughter. And she started at a grassroots rink with me, and we worked together. And over time, eventually, her family has worked with over 20, around approximately 20 World Olympic grassroots coaches from all over the country, coaches, choreographers, ice dancers, you name it. So they have a lot of experience at all ranges in different facilities. So I thought it would be a good idea to bring Cheryl on to talk about what parents think. What are you really thinking? Because we think we know, but you've got some really good points when we were talking. And we might not think as much, we might not know as much as we think we do. So Cheryl, talk to us about your first gut instinct of figure skating, and you got into it. I will mention you'd already had older sons that played travel baseball, so you already understood athletics. You understood what dedication and practice, coaching, traveling to games. You already understood that whole thing, which is similar to figure skating. So what makes figure skating so difficult?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up about the baseball players, first of all, because the coach that we had was very good. He had parent meetings and he made sure that we behaved well as parents because in a baseball game, parents can get a little snippy with the umpires and what have you. So I appreciated that from him as a coach, that he kind of educated us as parents and what expectations and how parents' behavior could affect your son even going to a college, with the recruiters and that type of thing. So I appreciated that. Another thing with skating, the skaters are training with their competitors, and to me that it creates well, I feel like for my daughter it was there's a degree of loneliness in skating, especially when you start rising to the top or getting to more of an elite level. And so you're training right next to the person that you're going to be competing against next weekend. And you all have certain goals. And when your competitor is meeting certain goals, it really, I think, affects the skater. It creates more loneliness for her because then or nervousness or worry, it's hard. And so that.
So okay, I think that's a great point. It's something that you and I have spoken with recently, but it's a point that it never dawned on me to think of it that way. I felt that when I was a skater, but that was a long time ago. So I've forgotten. And you're so right. It can be lonely. So what do you think? And you can talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. How does a coach help facilitate making a better atmosphere in that environment?
I don't know, maybe just, well, I think it's important for the coach to know their skaters. And you know, it's not going to happen right away, but if you have a skater for a long period of time, I think you will learn what works for them and what doesn't. And but I think you have to make yourself, you know, be cognizant of learning your skater and what does work for them and what doesn't. And I think it's important to draw your skaters in. And I know some rinks have a bell that they get to ring when they land a jump, or so I think all that is important. I think, you know, it should be an expectation of the coach out of their other skaters to encourage. And you know, and if that doesn't happen at the top, you know, it's like I said, even in my own job, if you've got problems at work, it usually starts at the top.
Yeah.
And if you can't fix it at the top, your problems are, you know, and I see that in so many work environments that I've been, that's where the problems lie. And if the top dog can't, you know, do something about it, then, you know, so I feel like they're the CEO.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
the
so
leader.
they need to, you know, have expectations, and then it's up to the skater. If they can't go with what's going on, then maybe it is time for them to look elsewhere, you know, but. So.
Yeah, that team environment is really important. And I know that not all coaches in every rink get along, but I think as a coach, you have to look past it and cheer for the other skaters. And then if they see you cheering, then if your athletes see you cheering for other skaters, then they're going to start doing it too. And I hate to say this, but as a coach, if I'm cheering for somebody else's skater that lands a double axel, but my skater hasn't landed it yet, well, maybe you need to work a little bit harder.
Yeah. Right.
So you too can get it. I'm not going to feel sorry for you or allow you to be upset with me for cheering for someone else. Because I did have an athlete that would get mad when I applauded at a competition when someone did something nicely. I have matured enough that stuff I don't care about anymore. Like, you can be mad about that all day long. I'm not going to change my behavior. And that just takes time as a coach to feel comfortable in your own skin to rise above it. But honestly, I would sit in the stands and be like, wow, that was really, really good. And then the mom told me later, boy, that really bothered the skater that you were cheering on somebody that was in her group. Yeah, well, she did something great. What do you want me to do? Like, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of skating. Like, I should be cheering everybody on. Oh my gosh. So one thing I want to go back to is when we started lessons together, I remember starting your daughter at like 6 a.m. was the only spot I had, and you guys were gracious enough to take it, and we had worked together. And at some point we had always talked about from the beginning, I had noticed that your daughter was talented and had some potential. And our rink, unfortunately, is not regulation size. We didn't have the training facility feel that I knew she would need to get where she could go. I didn't want her potential to be stunted. And we have always had very open discussions about it. I even had people come up to me and say, oh, so-and-so, she's not taken from you anymore. And I was like, no, it's great. She's gone to the next level, right? And you guys were always very kind and included me in her skating journey, always, you know, from the beginning. But I think it's important for coaches to understand their limits and say, okay, you've got to talk to the family and say, okay, this is what it's going to take.
Right. I agree with you. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that is very important. I think sometimes, I mean, let's face it, it's an income, you know, and you're taking a cut and pay when you when you tell your skater that they need to go to the next level. So it's not an easy thing, I know, for coaches, but I think that's definitely important, and that does make a good coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you guys were so gracious to me, and I actually learned with her, with your daughter, and when she went to different coaches, got to sit in on lessons. You allowed me to do that and brought me in to do that, so that when we did go to other coaches and then we would come home, I could reinforce what she learned. And then eventually you made the switch, which was a huge sacrifice for you. You lived with her by yourselves, away from the rest of your family, and that was a huge sacrifice. So how tell me about that experience. What was good about it and what was bad about it?
Well, I think that when we got to the next place, when we left our home rink and went to our next to the real training, to a training place, um, the environment there was different. We left, friends and a pretty good group of girls that all got along and seemed to be very friendly towards each other. So then when she got to the new rink, I'm sure that the skaters there felt threatened by another skater coming. That's so common, and there's not really a thing that you can do about that, but just time would heal it, and people get used to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the rink environment there never really, I don't know, it just never was like being at home, where everybody was in a friendly environment. Because when the second environment that she went to, she was training against the competitors and people that she had already looked up to.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a new experience for her, and she went from top person at her rank to just another skater at the second rink. So it took time. It took a lot of just time and just getting used to everybody.
So tell me that from a coaching standpoint, tell me what made that coaching experience at the second facility work.
Oh, right. The coach that she had a system as far as getting jumps. Anyway, I mean, I joke that I should have wrote a book and titled it "In Pursuit of the Double Axel," because that's basically what we were in pursuit of. And so when we got there, it took a little bit of time. I mean, she didn't get it, right away, but when she did get her double axel, shortly thereafter, she got all of her triple jumps.
Right.
And it happened like just like that. And the system worked. I mean, she had all of her triple jumps, and even because you did such a good job teaching her toe, she, and I don't think that the other skaters that she was there training with had their toe jump because they never did it correctly, I guess, when they were doing their double toe. So that even helped. She had a good base going into this. And
yeah, that's always good to hear when somebody has a method and they get a great athlete that they can then, okay, we're going to put this in the lab.
Yeah.
And just to keep it in perspective, everyone, it takes years, sometimes years to get a double axel, anywhere from 6 months to 5 years. I've seen it. And so that takes time. And then getting all of your triples through triple lutz takes another at least 2 to 3 years, if not longer. And your athlete, I remember seeing her in June, landed her double axel, and I saw her at regionals in October, and she was doing through triple lutz. And I was blown away. And then she did them like they were nothing. And so that is highly unusual. So obviously we made the right choice. She's
exactly.
Right. She's incredibly talented, and we did the right thing. So that makes you feel good, that you made the right choice there. Tell me, other than the loneliness and the atmosphere, some of the coaching negatives that were there.
I think that there was maybe some tension between some of the coaches
Mhm.
themselves. And I think maybe that just boils down to territory too. You know, you worry that you'll lose a skater, you know, to the other coach. And I mean, I just think it's very, I don't think there's any, I just think it's common, you
Yeah.
know, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it, but I do think that you need to be aware of your rink environment and, you know, just what's going on with the kids, what's going on with your colleagues, and just be aware and just try to fix things that, you know, could affect everybody. Um, and I think that, I don't know if this is on topic or not, but I just think that you just need to be aware of you know, your peers and your students, and you know, they're teenagers. They're so self-aware. They're so self-conscious, and you know, just even little things that you may think means nothing to them, it could mean more. A coach told my daughter to not stand a certain way because it made her abdomen stick out. And it's funny because that has stuck with her all these years. And you know, this was told to a young woman, young girl who is very self-conscious.
Mhm.
And so then that became a focus for her. And, you know, I just, it's such a body image sport. And, you know, the least we point out about things, probably the better, you know. And I have no idea. I have no idea how to even approach that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you and I had spoken about that, and I think the way that I have found that works is to talk about fueling your body as an athlete versus diet or weight or anything like that. And then you brought up when we were talking earlier, instead of talking about it to the skater, talk to the parents first, and then maybe the parent can slide it in. Oh, instead of McDonald's, we're going to go home and have chicken and broccoli or something. You know, the parent can deal with it at home because let's be real, these are kids. They're going to eat what their parents allow them to eat or what's in the house, right? They're not driving it, you know. But yeah, that's, and again, you have to know your skater. Your athlete in particular was incredibly sensitive already. Just her body language alone, she would you know, curl in. So you have to, you know, the minute you say something, that's going to just make her want to crawl in even more. So then you moved on from that facility
right.
and
Well, due to really my husband's illness,
yeah,
we were forced to go home. So it really wasn't something that we were planning
right,
to do. So
right.
we were forced to go home, and so we made the decision as a family that she would try a new rink environment, and we knew it couldn't be at home because our situation with our rink is so small and not a training facility.
Mm-hmm.
So she went to a couple of other, just actually about 3 other places. The first place in Atlanta, I don't really feel like she was necessarily thinking about staying there, but we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went to 2 other big training facilities, and yeah, and then she ended up where it seemed like there was a good group of skaters where she wouldn't feel so lonely.
Yeah,
Because by the time she was leaving, where she had been for 3 years, by the time she was leaving there, so many skaters had left,
mm,
and not training anymore, going to
I see.
college or injuries, or so slowly her time there had become a little bit more lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was time probably to go. Who knows if her we wouldn't have had the illness in our family. Who knows? She may have ended up leaving anyway. So,
hmm
yeah.
So when
And
you
she,
moved to, oh,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay. So when she moved to this new training facility, she has very high level coaches. It's a great training atmosphere, a lot of high level skaters. Tell me some of the good coaching, bad coaching things that happened there.
Well, when we first got there and just was observing, just observing for the couple of weeks that we were there, there was a coach that was yelling at one of the skaters. And I mean, it was kind of embarrassing for us. We didn't know the skater that well at that time. And I just thought to myself, I hope that tone of voice never goes to my daughter, because I know it wouldn't go very well.
Right,
And because she really, I mean, we didn't yell at her at home. And so she doesn't respond to that
right,
very well. Now, some kids maybe do respond to that,
right.
but so I noticed that, and I think it was very unprofessional and really kind of shocking out of this particular coach. So,
Mhm. And you had mentioned about coach expectations when you had gone to a competition with a coach, and you were
yes,
a little surprised by the bill.
yes, the bill was very shocking,
Yeah,
extremely shocking, and it bothered me. I mean, it was so shocking that I knew a lot of people just couldn't sit down and write a check for that amount of money.
right.
And it bothers me anyway that this sport is limited to a certain,
Demographic.
yes.
hmm
But I know that there's nothing that really we can do about that unless, maybe you could find people that would sponsor
Right.
a skater. And I've thought about that myself.
hmm
But where our rank is, I mean, where I am in my life right now, I don't think I could do that. But I think it's something that I would look to do in the future, to
hmm
sponsor a skater. Because
Yeah.
I would hate for somebody with a lot of talent not to be able to do it just because they couldn't afford it. But anyway, so
Right.
it was a little shocking, the dollar amount. So I do think it's important that you let your skaters know kind of up front.
Yeah.
Okay, if we go across country to this competition, it's gonna, this is what the sticker price is going to be.
Right. Before you sign up.
Right, especially
Not
if
after.
you're in a new environment,
Right. Right.
and this was new for us. Everything that we had done up until this point had been pretty much just like you do things,
hmm
you know.
Yeah.
And so this was a real eye opener for us. So,
Yeah. And I mean, to me, that's just business sense. Why would you not make sure that a new client has your policies and everything laid out?
yes.
So, you guys can check that out in my other video. I explain all that in another video.
Yeah.
And then you said that there were some good things there as well. So that was the training environment better there for her because there were more skaters at her level? Or did that make it even harder?
I don't think it made it harder. I do think it was a good environment for the most part. I'm always shocked when you are with really high level skaters, national competitors, and you see a side of them that you really wish you wouldn't see. But I do think that when a new skater comes in and has talent, I guess, it's a threat. It's always a threat. And you're going to see people act and behave in a way that they shouldn't.
Mhm.
And it's just one of those things that take time.
Yeah.
When she first got to nobody was really mean to her, but I did. she did see some behavior that I don't know. You could tell that some people didn't appreciate that another new skater was there. So
I see. I see.
that's all.
And that's no fault of the skater. I mean,
No,
yeah,
no, it's just human nature. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. It's a
it's like,
competitiveness.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, would see it in work too, in just regular life when a new employee comes. Oh, great, not sure if they're gonna work or just sit in the lounge.
right,
I mean,
right.
so that's kind of, but
So I think what's interesting about talking with you, Cheryl, is your perspective. I think is so different than someone who just stayed with me through senior, and because you've gotten to work with coaches from all over the country and in different facilities. And I think what's been great about your journey is that you have always come home. And
yeah.
when you would come home and Carly gets to see the friends she grew up with, and um, I'm getting choked up. Like,
Oh. It was always important to me for her to stay with her original skate club.
mhm,
When she went to these other areas, she became associate members, but she always skated and represented her home club because we did not move. Our home
right,
was still here in the South. And,
right.
so we didn't move. And so I just felt like it was important for her to, you know, stay with
Oh,
her.
I don't know why I'm getting so choked up. It was just, ah, but it was such
And she never wanted to leave her club either. It wasn't just me, but I mean, if she would have, I just don't see that she would want to leave. That's who supported her. That's
well,
where
I
she
was going
got
to
her start.
say, yeah. And as a club and being part of that club, we were always so proud of her. Whenever she made sectionals, she went to nationals. So we always were so proud of her being part of the club. Um, and it spoke volumes, I think, that, I mean, not everybody gets this opportunity, or their house would stay, in their home base. But the fact that you did that speaks volumes, I think, as to who you were. And I think it was important for Carly to feel that support. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? I really appreciate you joining me today and talking through this, because I think, like I said before, coaches think we know what parents are thinking, but you might not.
Well,
So
I think the fact that you're talking to me, and this has been since what, 16 years ago now?
yeah,
Um, I think that speaks volumes that, we still have this good relationship.
yeah.
And I think it's important um, to have that.
All right, so tell me about the future for skaters.
Well, for my daughter, let's just go with that. She now coaches. So as you're coaching, or she gives lessons, as you're coaching these skaters, you're grooming them for future coaching. So your style is going to spill over to their style. And I guess a good example is when we would have to go to competitions, flying, driving, whatever. I always made sure that my daughter was dressed appropriately, professionally. I'd never liked her, or never allowed her to go to the rink in, say, pajamas. I know that's kind of a thing now, or it was when she was an early teen. And so she had to always be dressed ready to work. And I think it's important to groom these skaters professionally,
Mm-hmm.
because this U.S. Figure Skating is a professional organization. And that's just my opinion. Read Dean Smith's book on his for his Tar Heels. because he gave them a choice that they could stay in the Comfort Inn or they could stay in the Hiltons, the five-star hotels. But if they stayed in the five-star hotels, they had to dress worthy of a five-star hotel. So the athletes chose the five-star hotels. And I think that's a good philosophy to have.
That's great. I will interject with this that I'm so happy that you are back in that rank because I'm no longer there, and I can say, hey, can you work with my athletes? And I know that your skater is such a good skater and knows what she's doing that I feel comfortable with my grand students, right? So now she's got grand that I know what she knows, so now she can coach my athletes as well.
Yeah.
And it was fun when I was there for us to coach side by side.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah, that was fun. And I think you got to be there for that. I think you were there.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
We're not getting any older, just the kids get older.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned the relationship, and I think that's huge. I think one of the signs of a good coach is after the athlete leaves the sport, what relationship do you have with the parents? And what relationship do you have with the skater? Are you getting invited to graduations and weddings?
Right.
Or is it, see you later, I've had enough of you?
Skating has been really good for my daughter for lots of reasons. It's definitely helped her develop time management skills. It's helped her academically, I know, and just the resilience that she has to, and just the not just resilience, but skating is such a perfection type. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I mean, and so she strives for that. She strives for a perfect score. She strives for landing. There's jumps still,
Yeah.
and when she fails, she knows that she's got to get back up.
Right.
Right.
And
I see that that's helped her achieve so much, and now she's going to be a doctor.
Yay! That's so exciting. Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for talking with us today. You have such a wealth of knowledge. You've done this for a long time. You've been through the fire and back, and so it's so great to see you as always. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I hope this interview was helpful and insightful for you to see inside the mind of a skating parent. It might be a little different than what you thought, but I think it's important to ask skating parents their thoughts because they're your clients and you want to gain a little insight as to what they're thinking in order to provide them a better service. All right, everyone, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. But more importantly, have a nice day.